Hello everybody, in this video we will do some graph interpretation with the focus on the hyperbola. Question 1. The sketch below shows the graphs of f of x equals k over x plus w, that's the hyperbola, and g of x equals minus x minus 1, that's the straight line. The graph G is an axis of symmetry of f. That's a very important statement. The graphs f and g intersect at P and Q. Number 1, write down the value of W. Now W in the hyperbola here is in fact the little q's value. Now where do we find that? They gave us the equation of g of x, and they specifically told us that g is an axis of symmetry of f. Now I taught you that the c value, the minus 1 there on the axis of symmetry, that is indeed also q's value. Therefore we can say that w is equal to -1. Question 2. The point -2, 7 lies on f. Calculate the value of k. In other words, they want us to find the equation of the hyperbola. So we will start with f of x is equal to k over x plus w, and we now know that w's value is -1. Then the point living on the graph is the point 2 and 7. And then we will add an x and a y there so that we can substitute the coordinate to find k. In y's place 7 equals k over, in x's place -2 minus 1. Then -1 walks across, that becomes +1. 7 plus 1 is 8 is equal to k over -2. And then to get rid of the -2, we multiply both sides by -2, and we find on the left hand side 8 times -2 is -16. Therefore k's value is -16. Question 3 wants us to calculate the x coordinates of P and Q. Now let's have a look. What's happening at P and Q is this is the place where the two graphs intersect. In other words, they cut each other. And this is now where we're going to do simultaneous equations to find the point of intersection of two graphs. So we'll start with y is -16 over x minus 1. That is the hyperbola's equation, and given was the straight line. Y is equal to -x minus 1. Now both these graphs are equal to y, so they are equal. We can equate them and say, therefore, -16 over x minus 1 is then equal to -x minus 1. The -1 will walk across and it becomes +1, and then -1 plus 1 is nothing. And we end with -16 over x equals -x. Then to get x on top, we will multiply both sides by x. Here on the left the x's will cancel, and on the right -x times x is -x squared. Let x squared walk across so that it becomes positive, and we end with x squared minus 16 equals 0. And there you find the difference of two squares. So when we factorize, we end with x minus 4, x plus 4 is equal to 0, and x is 4 or x is minus 4. And then the x coordinate at P will be -4 since it's to the left of 0, and then the x coordinates at Q will be +4. Before we continue, have you subscribed yet? Or you can like this video, and better yet, Please tell your friends about my channel. Let's continue. The next question says, write down the values of x for which minus 16 over x is greater than minus x. So now you will think, what on earth is going on? Have a look. Do you agree the hyperbola's equation is y is minus 16 over x minus 1, and the straight line's equation is y is minus x minus 1. Now when we equated the two like that in the previous sum, we ended with this: minus 16 over x minus 1 is equal to minus x minus 1. So now this we can cancel out, and then we just left with minus 16 over x equals minus 1. So what the question did was they replaced the equal signs with a greater than. So now we ended with minus 16 over x greater than minus x. So what does this mean? This means on your graph, where will the hyperbola lie above the straight line? Now when you go to your graph, there at P, the x-coordinate is -4. And it's from -4 up to 0 where the hyperbola lies above the straight line. And to write that in maths, you write it as x is smaller than 0 and x is greater than -4. And don't include 0, please not, that's where the asymptote is, and also not -4 because there was no equal sign. But there's another place where the hyperbola lies above the straight line, and this is there at Q, and the x value at Q is 4, and this is happening from 4 onwards. And to write that in maths, you write x is greater than 4. Question 5 says, give the domain and range of f. Now, what is f? F is our hyperbola. So for the domain for this hyperbola in grade 10 is x is an element real, but remember the y-axis, which is the line x is equal to 0, that one, that's the asymptote. So that's your restriction, we call it. So the domain is all x values, x element real, but x cannot be equal to 0, since that's where the restriction is, the asymptote is there. And then for the range, remember we read the range from the bottom upwards. But just keep in mind, our graph has a horizontal asymptote which flew in there at -1. So the range will be all the y values. Y is an element real, but not where you find the horizontal asymptote. So the range is y is an element real, but y cannot be equal to -1. In the next video, I will discuss a typical exam question that you can expect on the hyperbola. Click on the video in the left-hand corner to take you straight to the next lesson.